Hi Ross.
Hello, Laurie.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
It's a nice way to start a video.
Nice to seeing you here.
I know, weird. Let's talk about whiskey, shall we?
Yeah, we should.
Cut the crap. This is a Bruichladdich, which, I don't know, I feel like I've had mixed experiences with Bruichladdich.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it's maybe not as cult-like a following as Springbank or Macallan in a different way, but it is slightly culty.
But they do have these crazy fans because they had a teenage phase where they put everything in every cask ever.
Oh, they're nuts.
And it was it was 4,000 different expressions of Bruichladdich at once.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It's fun. I think it's, maybe, I don't know, I didn't love that phase. I think it was very confusing and each bottling was so distinct and it got to the point where it was like, what does Bruichladdich actually
But it's funny because
like?
if you bump into a Bruichladdich fan, they'll say, oh, well, the 2006, yada, 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 and it'll be a bottle one of 50.
Yeah.
So, it's quite unusual, but the distillery itself producing 3 unique, clear, different distillates. And actually, Bruichladdich is probably the most welcoming to my palate because, as you know, I'm not a big peaty whiskey lover. Although, I've actually always consistently enjoyed Port Charlotte. Out of Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte and Octomore, Port Charlotte has been the most consistent for me.
In terms of your enjoyment or in terms of, like, even
Definitely in terms of my enjoyment. Sure. Octomore kicks my arse.
It's kind of, it's kind of a different, doesn't really feel like a whiskey a lot of the time.
Again, that definitely has a cult kind of following to it. Like the PPM and now a lot of people are really into it now. I think it's wild. If you're being totally honest, if you're telling me that the phenol per million, and you've got your parts per million of Lafroig and Ardbegs, 40 or 60, and you're giving me a Bruichladdich and it's 147, you can't tell me the human palate can try something that's 3 times smokier than an Ardbeg.
It reminds me of, you get the chili sauce and stuff. It's like 500,000
Scoville unit.
Like,
if it's over 1 million, it's not good fun. You're eventually just in pain.
I think it's people who are drawn to extremes.
I think that's a good way to describe it. The Scoville unit and the PPM. Yeah. Because also PPM going into cask and PPM coming out of cask is completely different.
You can fudge the numbers a little bit.
Nobody knows it. Everybody goes, oh, well, we put it in at 80 ppm. It doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, it doesn't taste 4 times as smoky as Ardbeg 10.
It's a really weird thing for people to get so hooked up on. However, what we've got is a Bruichladdich.
Why are we talking about Octomore?
So presumably unpeated distillate
from
the distillery.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Octomore, as we say, is kind of crazy,
heavily peated is what they call it.
Yeah, Port Charlotte is heavily peated. Bruichladdich is unpeated.
Unpeated.
So Bruichladdich, obviously an Islay distillery, and it's kind of experimental. It's had quite an up and down sort of history. Yeah. But very popular. Cult following, do a lot of kind of wacky things.
Classic Laddie had loads of success, that kind of ceramic blue bottle. Yeah. That just on a back bar for years and years, people I'll try that, what's that going to be like? And always bottled at good strengths.
Yes.
Always bottled at 50%, which I actually do appreciate. Yeah. I know you do too.
Yeah, in terms of distillery character, that I've always, I don't know, I could probably count on one hand the number of Bruichladdich that I've loved.
That's fair. I
feel like it has got, I'm sure we've spoken about this before, people talk about the sort of baby sick cheesy feet kind of
I'm trying to be excited about this, but there's definitely, I've been at tastings before where somebody says one thing and it's just stuck in your head. And Bruichladdich, if it's kind of acid, kind of baby sick note on the nose is something that I've heard and then it's ruined the whiskey for me. So I'm hoping this is going to be very different because this is hopefully, and I think, going to be very cask influenced.
Yeah, so this one is, distilled in 2012, matured for 11 years, only 199 bottles, which is fun, and it's been matured in a Latour hogshead.
So quite a big cask, but so that's big, heavy red wine. Yeah. So should be big and sticky, and maybe a similar profile, and certainly a similar look as to what you expect from a port or sherry influenced fortified wines, but totally different flavour profile, we're hoping. So I like the wine.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's going to influence this whiskey positively. And I love the bottler. So Thompson Bros, I think, we've said in some of the whiskies we've done before, as a new bottler, it's incredible the range.
The stuff they've got access to.
It's bizarre. I mean, I don't think they'll mind me saying, I've been to their warehouse number 1 or warehouse number 2 up in Dornoch, It's like it's a garage.
Yeah.
It really is. They don't have much space.
Yeah.
But they've got such an amazing reputation and such amazing access to casks. This is quite exciting.
Yeah, they're more interested in the liquid quality than the visitor experience.
Yeah, and I would say I've definitely picked up Thompson Bros bottlings before from distilleries I've not been that fond of. Maybe somebody like Bruichladdich.
Okay.
And the quality of the cask or the expression has changed my mind.
Sure. Okay.
So I'm hoping this is going to be a similar effect.
Yeah, like I don't hate Bruichladdich.
I just haven't drank much of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I've yet to see an expression from Bruichladdich where I can understand the hype.
I think if you're an Isla fan, you're not going to be a massive Bruichladdich fan because the whole point for a lot of people going to Isla is to drink something peaty.
Yeah.
I quite like it. It's quite bold of them not to do a peated whiskey, the Bruichladdich range. Whereas the Botanist, the gin they do, is probably the most well known. Yeah. Globally, is easily their best known product. Yeah. I remember doing, in a previous line of work, working a lot of the US market, everybody's heard of the Botanist gin. Nobody had heard of Bruichladdich. It's
funny, isn't it?
So it's just bizarre, but obviously a good success story.
Yeah.
Let's have a little taste of this.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this. As I say, it's only just been 1 or 2 Bruichladdich, but I've really, really enjoyed.
And with wine cask whiskey, notorious for inconsistency as well.
Yeah, I think
What's
it's a very
thoughts?
easy thing for whiskey people to be like, oh, wine casks are always terrible. I think I can understand. I've had a few where I'm like, it just doesn't really fit. Like it doesn't really work. It maybe doesn't complement whiskey in that as naturally as something like PX or Oloroso or
I quite like
port.
wine cask whiskey, but I do think there's a lot of whiskey purists or people that have been drinking whiskey or working in the industry for years and years and years. It was American oak or European oak forever.
Yeah.
And so when people start chucking in, fancy wine finishes, people are getting upset by it. But I think it can be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give this a nose.
So this the strength of this one here.
It's like 55, I think.
55.3. So we've got a wee bit of water, unlike us.
I know. Very responsible.
That's it.
It's not too prickly on the nose.
No. 11 years old's a good age too. I quite like the nose. I nothing terribly distinctive.
No, it's quite subdued but pleasant. Not picking up any off notes.
Maybe some kind of red berry notes.
I'm not getting much sort of coastalness.
No.
Isla character on the nose.
Oh.
You think it's hot? I was going to say it's quite
I was going to say
mellow.
The prediction is I'll add water and like it more, and you'll add water and prefer it without.
Yeah, almost exclusively.
But for me, that's quite.
Like
the alcohol's quite a lot there, but maybe my second taste will prohibit. So.
You really get the words out. You're struggling for air.
You must have got more from it from me. If you didn't just get the effort.
Yeah, I quite liked it. I thought it was quite balanced. I thought it was very soft, like soft oak. Some of those kind of soft fruitiness, like sort of berry notes you mentioned on the nose. I think having it blind and maybe guess at a wine cask without being 100% sure.
Yeah, maybe
but
a
it's
little bit of acidity.
pleasant. How's it?
For me, it's really strong. So I'm gonna add some
The whole
water.
jug.
I'm not adding any water yet, so I'll add some water.
Yeah, I'm not rushing to add water. I think I don't mind it. I thought the finish was fairly
That's fair.
non-existent.
The nose is actually a little bit more dulled down with water. It is winey. It is winey in a kind of nondescript way. I know what you mean. It's not a straightforward bourbon or sherry influence.
Yeah, I think you get some wine casks impart a real sort of vibrancy to it. Like it adds a real colour, kind of literally and otherwise. But I think the wine cask adds something to it. I think
the palate for me of water that's a really tasty whiskey.
With waters.
With water, it's much. For me,
this is where I ruin it.
Yeah, for me, it's much more rounded. There's still a bit of heat, but the heat's pleasant. I've only added a few drops, and definitely more kind of toffee, fudgy, almost sherry-like notes. Less fruity.
I think with a touch of water, it's added a slight maybe kind of bitterness to it. It's
Okay,
got a little
I
bit
think
more.
there's a savouriness.
A little bit more leathery as well, for some reason, with a touch of water.
I think there is this savouriness added to it. I think there's
Do you think it's cask dominated?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do, which I don't dislike.
Yeah, I think if I gave that to you and said it's a Manachmore or a Tomatin
It could
or
be,
a Glenturret,
absolutely. I think that there's nothing to my palate that tells me this is Bruichladdich. We don't know if it's a maturation or a finish. It just says cask type, Latour, Hogshead. So it could be, but it looks very influenced by the cask, and it does taste very influenced by the cask.
Yeah. I think overall it's good. For me, I enjoy it more because of the cask influence.
Yeah.
But I feel like because it is so dominant, you lose the distillery DNA. So therefore, it's a waste of a cask of Bruichladdich because it has got a,
I get
popular
that. I do get that argument. I think this is the kind of whiskey that will be nice and maybe leave it for 20 minutes. And just give it some time and maybe.
I think I want to say nice in a cocktail.
No. No, I really like it with water. And I'm going to add more water just to finish it off. It is a tasty whiskey. But yeah, we spoke a lot about Bruichladdich. We could have spoke a lot about almost anybody.
Yeah, I think, overall, a nice dram.
Yeah.
But, dictated by the cask. Could be from any distillery. But, 7 out of 10 for me. Happily try it again, but I wouldn't rush out to buy it.
I'll give it an 8. I am liking it now. But I'm with you. It's not much.
Yeah, with a half a pint of water in it,
That's
give it
true.
an 8. Yeah.
That's it. If you mellow it out, it'll be all right. Well, thanks for letting us try.
No, a pleasure, and
Cheers.
Cheers. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Bevvy content. We want to hear what you think, your best whiskey experiences, the whiskies you want us to try. It's a really exciting journey we're on, so make sure to join us. Download the Bevvy app on Google Play and App Store to keep track of your whiskey journey, connect with your whiskey friends, keep track of your favourites, anything you could ever want to do with whiskey, all in one place. It's the definitive whiskey companion.